به جمهوری اسلامی نه، به جمهوری اسلامی نه، به جمهوری اسلامی نه، به جمهوری اسلامی نه. ما صدای آزادی با هم برای آبادی ایران.
Sirwan Mansouri, a journalist and refugee rights activist living in exile. I had to forcibly leave the country due to my journalism and political issues after I was several times detained, arrested, and tortured by the Iranian regime authorities. This is the fifth session of our Twitter Spaces under the name of No to IR, which is holding now. The main goal of holding these spaces is that our voices as the Iranian regime dissidents to be heard outside directly. As Twitter Spaces have bugged and problems in case of any difficulties, such as disconnecting or losing the space, I have create another space immediately, and you can join us again. Please let me to clarify that the rules of this space, first for you, everyone who wants to speak, is it enough to just raise the hand and there will be the speaker on the stage from our side. Everybody can talk for 5 minutes, and if not enough, we will let him to be the speaker again in the second step, after all speakers on the stage did their thoughts. You can show your reactions by emojis on the speaker text on the bottom of the page in order to let us know your views on what the others are saying. Along with me in this meeting today, there are three moderators, Erdeshir, Sarah, and Mamadou, that accompany me in this meeting to manage the session. Please note that no one is allowed to get into others' conversations while are typing on the stage. In case of doing such a matter from anybody's side, the mic will be muted by the host. Now we start the session formally by giving mic to moderators to introduce themselves to you. Briefly. Now, mic is yours, Erdeshir. You can start formally the session. Go ahead, please.
I think Erdeshir doesn't have a microphone yet.
Mic is yours now. You're on stage. You can start.
I would like to welcome everyone, and we are very glad to have you with us here tonight. Hopefully in this session, we'll have many Iranians come up and talk about the reasons why they're against this regime and what they would see in a future without this regime in Iran and what it can be. And I'm hoping for a very fruitful session. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to have you here. My name is Sarah. I guess you know me. I'm an Iranian citizen who seeks freedom, and I strongly say no to the Islamic regime in Iran. And I want regime change for my country. Mamadou, please.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I would like to welcome everyone. I am Mamadou Babai. I am professionally a game developer, but I've got involved in politics due to participation in a protest. During that protest, I've got arrested. I received a sentence of 30 lashes and 8 months of prison. And after that, I left the country, and now I live in exile in the Netherlands. And I have been actively opposing the regime's propaganda for the past almost 3 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I want to start the session formally. Please, if everyone wants to speak on the topic, just raise your hand and I will let you have the mic. Okay, so let me to start this session with a question, a clear question to all of us. Let me to focus on the matter that why we should focus on No to IR. How we Iranian dissidents decided to step in this way. What factors and reasons persuade us to do that is the importance of this issue. How other dissidents, for example, from different countries like Iranian neighbors, can join us in this campaign. All of us know that Islamic Republic regime, like an octopus, has spread its legs to different parts of the world, from east to west, Middle East, and even Latin American countries. So this will increase our efforts to concentrate on this issue, to be the real voice of the people inside the country, to prevent Islamic lobbies invest to preach the regime ideology, and to prevent the disinformations. I think this will incite us to talk our steps harder. I would like to give mic to audience to take part in this conversation. Please, everybody, if you want to participate in our conversation, just raise your hand in order to come to stage. I welcome Mrs. Irina Zuckerman and also Mr. Adrian and Mr. Walton Martin. And I would like to invite you to come to stage and participate in our conversation.
Silva, may I ask you also, you invite Gumgashte to come on the stage in addition to Adrian and Irina and Mr. Martin? Yeah.
Of course, I will invite them, but I think they haven't the mic now. Perhaps it's because of the space difficulty. I will do again.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Adrian, you are now on the stage. I welcome you, and I want to start your talk on the topic. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. As you can tell, I'm not Iranian. I was born and raised in the U.S., although I have dual citizenship. I'm half British, half American. The country of Iran is a great passion of mine. I'm a Middle Eastern historian, and I'm writing a book on Hezbollah right now to show their corrosive influence and how they're attached and basically a direct appendage of the Iranian, or I should say Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps Quds Force. So I have many Iranian friends in the United States, and I want them to be able to, and myself, I want to be able to travel back to this country and see it for all its glory without this tyrannical regime that's in place that would take someone for protesting and give them 30 lashes and then sentence them to several years. So I'm very passionate about this. I'm trying in multiple ways to try and amplify the voice of the Iranian diaspora to put pressure on local politicians in the United States, senators. Don't give these individuals any money. Walk away from Vienna, keep them under sanctions, and regime change is the only way. And when I say regime change, I don't mean putting in 100,000 US troops. I mean, keeping the sanctions in place, enabling the people of Iran to have free internet to access, and then have people around the borders ready to provide any type of humanitarian support. Because the argument I hear coming from the lobbyists, the Iranian, from the Islamic Republic is, well, gosh, this will turn into a civil war immediately. And it's not going to turn into a civil war. I'll say that right now. It wouldn't turn into a civil war. They're using Syria. They're using Iraq. They're using Yemen and as a template for civil wars. And what is the one common denominator for all those places where civil wars are taking place? The Islamic Republic. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much, Adrian. You put emphasis on the very important factor that Iran not only interfere in its interior affairs and separation to its people, but also to the other countries, as you mentioned, some countries like Yemen, Syria, and other countries. Okay, thank you very much. From the guests, if anybody has comments on Adrian's talks, just please let me to open the mic to you. And if not, okay, there is another person on the stage, Arjun. Arjun, now you are a speaker. You can talk for 5 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, cool. So, I'm American, and, well, I'm actually a researcher, statistician from California. I just have a few comments to make on these things, like whatever happens in Middle East. It's more related to technology and what we see as a social media, because people might think that it's Arab Spring, but I don't think it's an Arab Spring. It's more like a Twitter Spring. And wherever these social media goes, it's like unrest happens there. We are seeing that happening in like different places, like around the world, like how it is, like, you know, it's going on. And then what happens is once everything is sorted out, like everything is finished, these social media has been kicked out. So, but at that time they have made enough profits. So according to me, what I feel is that for Iran's perspective, I have been to Tehran. I really like Iranians. I got many friends in America, like, who are Iranians. It's just that I don't think there will be regime change without bloodshed. I mean, yeah, that's what if I might be wrong, but that's what the analysis and all the situation in the Middle East and everything tells. Like that's the thing which I see because Khamenei is actually very powerful guy. He is not and he does not belong to some small country or he is powerful a lot. And like Iran is actually, it has a geopolitical location and all that. So that's what I want to say about Iran. And well, if you want me to cover about Israel-Palestine, I can do that also, if you are interested. Should I?
Yes, no problem.
Yes. Okay, cool. So the thing is that they say, let's consider Hamas, okay? They say that Israel can actually, demolish Hamas in no time. The reality is far, it's not possible. Politically also, it's not possible. And using military also, it's not possible. Because if you see politically, out of 132 seats, in Palestine, Hamas is in majority, by the way. It has got like 74 seats, so 75 seats like that, out of 132. Now, after this conflict, I guess they will become more and more powerful. They'll become more powerful. And few people say that what if Israel conquers Gaza? Well, if Israel conquers Gaza...
Arjun, sorry, please let me to interrupt you. And then go back to you. Just, I want you to talk on topic. Let me to ask you and make you clear an issue that there is, and also for the audience, that there is a very significant difference between Iran. When we say Iran, we don't mean the country or the people inside the country, because it's very, very, very big difference between Iranian people and Iran's regime. Okay, as you know. And
of course.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Like Iranian regime is completely different from Iranian people. As I said, like I know a lot of Iranian people, like personally. So yes, it's completely different. And I know that, you guys don't like Islamic regime and Islamic revolution or the law of Sharia and all that. So yeah, I know that fact. Yeah. So yeah, that's it from my side. I don't want to go into more details. So yeah.
Arjun, just let me to ask you a clear question. How do you see the role of the Iranian dissidents in, for example, confronting this dictator and cruel regime?
Well, I didn't get your question, by the way. What, how to counter this regime? Are you asking me that?
I want to ask you, how do you see the role of Iranian dissidents confronting the Iranian regime, the regime of mullahs?
Well, again, let's talk about facts and figures. Iranian people are powerless right now. They are powerless. Your government is very powerful. I'm sorry, I don't feel good speaking that, but yeah, Iranians are actually powerless in Iran, and the Iranian government is highly powerful. It can only be done through external forces. And that's what I said. External forces will surely lead to, bloodshed and all that. But yeah, if something happens, one day Iranian people just come out on the streets, 50, 60, 70 million people, if they come on the streets and they just said okay, go ahead, kill us, fine. Then that's a different story.
Okay, Arjun, let me sorry, because we have limited time. Thank you very much for your expression.
Sure.
May I not be agreed with you? That's your opinion. Okay. Yes. Okay. Up to date, you are on stage. You can speak on the topic about 5 minutes, but just concentrate on topic, please.
I have a question first. What Iranian people think about Islam? Because of in Islam there are so many lines says non-Muslim kill non-Muslim. So this is a very bad Islamic thought. So
your voice is not very clear. Up to date. We can't hear you clearly.
I ask to you, Iran is Islamic country, so the Quran says kill non-Muslims. So how non-Muslim support your country for externally? So you have no support
May I
externally.
answer it? I've got your answer. May I answer?
Sorry, I would like to interject as well.
A moment, please. Okay, we got your answer to that.
Please
Got your
read
answer.
Quran and see kill
Okay,
all
got it.
non-Muslims. So you should fix this issue. You first.
Okay, up to date.
You should make your own global. Then your thought is not against your Quran. Then it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdul. I got your question. Okay, I will let Mamadou to answer in 3 or 4 minutes, and then I will give mic to Kamangir. Perhaps he has the opinion and comment on this question. Mamadou, you first, and then Kamangir, please.
Thank you very much. Despite all the false representation of the Western media of Iranian people, most people who are not familiar with the Iranian culture may think all Iranians are Muslim, or if they are Muslim, they are extremists. For example, like Taliban or like ISIS. But that's not the case, especially during the past 4 decades, because, Iran, before, the Islamic regime come to power, you were free in Iran. You had the freedom of religion. And after the Ayatollahs came to power, they tried to convey to the world, for example, Iran is the only country, even when Western women come to Iran, like, for example, let's say Angela Merkel comes to Iran, she has to wear hijab. Why? Because they want to convey to the world we are the only true Muslim country, which is not the case. Most Iranian juvenile, most Iranian at my age, I'm, by the way, 37 years old. I was born in a Muslim family. But I do not believe in Islam. It was up to like 17 years old. And many people at my age also, they don't. I would say like 80-90% of Iranians are not religious at all. Many of them are atheists. Many of them, like me, are agnostic. And do not let the media fool you. Do not let the Ayatollahs fool you to tell you Iranians are extremists, Muslims. That's not the case.
Okay, thank you very much, Mamadou, for your information and updating with the answer. Okay, Kamangir, sorry, I saw you. Okay, after Kamangir, we'll give you the mic. Kamangir, you have 5 minutes to ask the question or to talk on the topic. Just 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. 5 minutes is too long. I just wanted to interject and say, actually, I completely agree with what Mamadou just said about Iran. And if you look back in Iran's history, Iran and Islam haven't been intertwined for too long. Since the revolution, when the guards came along, they tried to force Islam onto people. And that includes almost everybody in the country and the new generation. And what has happened as a result of this? What has happened with this intersect of religion and actual living day-to-day life is that it started to make people not want to be religious anymore. If you look at the current average young population in Iran, almost all of them, and they identify themselves as atheists. Almost all of them. They hate religion. They're so far along down this path that they don't even want to know Islam anymore. Now, you can blame this perhaps on the studies of Islam in itself, or you can blame this on the mullahs intertwining religion so much into our day-to-day lives that we've now come to almost hate it. May not be fair on Islam, but that's not important. What we want, though, going forward, what people of Iran want going forward, they want a life where the religion doesn't interject with everything that they do. We want secularism. We want a separation between where religion is and where our day-to-day life and governance happens. So it was a short answer to your question. What you're hearing is mostly propaganda from anywhere from all the way from inside of Iran, all the way, projected out to all the surrounding countries in Europe and so on. They follow the line of the regime, and they try and suffocate our voices, so nobody can really actually hear the true story here. I would encourage you to come along to any of the spaces that we do in English, just to get a better understanding of what actually goes on in Iran, rather than the media, as they say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Arjun, please. I saw you raise your hand. Okay, I will let you the mic after the other speakers can speak on the stage. This is the role of this space. Just we'll let you to speak. Okay, before the other speakers, I saw Sarah raise her hand. Sarah, now mic is yours to talk on the topic for 5 minutes. Just please, other audiences, please just speak on the topic. We are Iranian dissidents who are gathered here to say no to IR. Okay, just focus on no to IR. Why should we say no to IR, and what's the importance of this? Just please speak about the topic. It's better. Okay, Sarah, you go ahead for 5 minutes, and then we will get to other. Just please, Habamas, please. I will get you. I will let you to speak. No, not now. Just please be patient, please.
I just want 1 minute. That's all.
Okay. Okay. I will let you. Just be patient, please. Now, Sarah, mic is yours. You can talk about the topic for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Sirwan. I just wanted to refer you into a survey launched by the Gaman Institute regarding the Iranians' attitude toward the religion. That you can find the survey, the plots, figures, numbers, static, everything you want about the religion. What Iranians believe, actually. So back to the topic of the space. Sirwan, we have a person from Iraq. Her name is Eva. She is in the listener, and I would like her to come up on the stage. Eva.
Sarah, I invited her, but she didn't accept the mic, unfortunately. I invite again.
Okay. It's all right, Eva. If your English is not perfect, that's not a problem. Our English is not perfect either. Don't worry about it. I just wanted to talk to you. Yesterday, actually, me and Eva exchanged a little bit of messages on the timeline, and she is always complaining about the regime in Iran, and I know her from, I guess, beginning of the 2020. And we were in touch. We talked about the politics and the interference of the regime in Iran, in Iraq specifically. And it just came up to my mind that what if we Middle Easterners get together? Because the regime in Iran is so brutal, like Arjun said, like Adrian said. We need a powerful force. If the West, if democratic countries don't want to meddle in, they don't want to help us. By that, I don't mean like give us troops and guns and those stuff. That's another thing. We have plenty of time to discuss about that. But if they don't want to intervene, what if we Middle Easterners try to get together? First of all, we have to build trust that we don't hate each other, because that's the strategy and the propaganda of the regime in Iran. They turn people against each other. The regime enjoys when they see that Iraqi hates me. They enjoy when they see that Iranians hate Yemenis, or Lebanese hate Iranians. They enjoy it because that's how actually they separate us, and they don't want us to get united and overthrow this cancer of the Middle East. So what if we get together? What if we build the trust together and start a movement? For example, we say that on that day or on that month, we're gonna come out on the streets, all of us, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Iran, everywhere. We come out, we protest. In this way, we can basically limit, we can contain the power of repression of the regime. Because, for example, after the November 2019, when that massive protest happened in Iran, Qasem Soleimani entered a lot of proxies of Hashd Shabi. They entered a lot of Fatimiyun and Zainabiyun proxies from Pakistan, from Afghanistan to Iran in order to oppress for other protesters in the future. So as Arjun said, we are powerless right now. When we go to the streets, we are empty-handed, and these people can easily oppress us. But when in the Middle East, all of us try to come out, then they have to spread these proxies, distribute these proxies into different countries in order to oppress people. So what happened? We will have less casualties. I would like to listen to others about this, and also about Eva's opinion if she's still with us.
Can I jump in for Sirwan? Do you mind if I jump in for 1 second?
Just please, Mr. Adian, I will let you speak, but because we have another speakers on the stage.
Yeah,
Sivan, may I ask you, allow him, because I think what he has to say is related to what Sarah has said.
Okay,
yeah,
please.
What I wanted to say is Sarah is bringing up a very, very important point, is that the regime has done an amazing job at dividing the Iranian diaspora. Okay, and I talked about before, I was talking about Iraq, I was talking about Yemen, I was talking about Syria. We need to pull everybody into a much larger tent. People from all these nations that have been affected by this regime, and put pressure on them. Okay, it can't just, I'm at the point where I don't believe that, I think if we all come together in the region and realize that this is the source of all the problems in the Middle East, okay, then we can get to a much better place. Because I know some people up on the stage, and I would like somebody, if they could, to invite Hanan up on the stage, because she is an Iraqi, and she sees the the PMF and AH and Jaish al-Mahdi and all these different groups, Badr, Katab Hezbollah, just slaughtering Iraqis. And we got to remember that before 1,500 people were slaughtered on the streets of Iran, they were slaughtering people on the streets of Baghdad, Karbala, Basra, all these places.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Adrian.
Hello.
Now, just let me please to give mic to Ojan. Ojan, you can talk about 5 minutes on the topic. Ojan, can you hear me, Ojan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Come on, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think all the dissidents are here and outside this group. They're all here. Obviously, the word dissidents has its own meaning, and everyone knows why we're here.
Yes, but let me to ask you, from where you are, Ojan?
I'm obviously Iranian. I'm calling you from the UK.
Yes, please.
Yes. Obviously, the problem that we have, with due respect to all the views I've heard so far, that the regime is very strong, obviously for its own people and somehow with the neighbors. I do not agree with the notion that we need direct help, like any kind of intervention from the outsiders, like any power, because then that means that we owe them. And I do not want to go back again on that. But my question directly to ask, like Adrian or others, is that how we can stop the European countries, those alongside with the America, who brought this regime to power, and keep supporting them for the last 42 years. You see, the problem is that we have brave people who come to the streets empty-handed and fight barehanded with this regime, who are armed up to their neck. Now, the only problem we have is that these countries, these basically developed countries, Europeans, who always talk about democracy and the fact that they are there for the people of the world who fight tyranny, but they are not actually. With the advancement in technology, now we know that what they say, all these countries, what they say is totally the opposite of what they do. We had an uprising when Obama was in power, and people on the streets of Tehran were directly asking and directing their messages to Obama that you either stand with us or with them. But what happened? Obama gave them the JCPOA, gave them hundreds of billions of dollars, and made them more stronger and stronger than before. And that's how they could oppress the Iranian people inside. This is the problem that we have. Obviously, we do not have a good lobby in the West because we are not organized, because we all are ordinary citizens who have never been involved in any kind of collective activity, like as we can see in the world, like the oppositions of different of different rulers. They all have lobbies. They all have an organization. They can do fundraising. They can have agendas. But we just not there yet. And the problem we have that even though all these Western countries and the free world basically, they know that the elections in Iran are fake. They know that whatever comes out of anyone's mouth in that regime is a lie, whether it's, as the Polish President put it rightly, the smiling Ribbentrop, Mr. Zarif.
1 minute remain, just please conclude your...
Yes, sure. Mr. Zarif or the others. So what we can do to convince the free world stop supporting the regime. Once we achieve that, I think it will be much, much easier to overthrow this regime. But as long as this regime has the support, especially now with Biden administration, wants to give them again another chance, we have no prospect of having a free country. And I obviously do not want to be indebted to another free world country and another power, so they can come and tell us what to do again for the next so many years. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Arjun. Commander, I saw you that you raised your hand, but just please, first let me to give mic to other speakers on the stage, and then we will come back to you, okay? Papa Masno, your mic is yours. If you hear my voice, you can start your discussion on the topic.
Sirwan, give me 1 minute. I have to leave.
Okay. Now mic is yours. Go ahead, please. Speak.
Yeah. The problem, if you are sort of finding what the problem is, then you can solve the problem. The problem was ex-Shah of Iran, rest in peace. He was the one that he was the head of OPEC, and he was sort of valuing how much oil is going to be sold to the Western country. So American and English people, they say he's not good for them, and they got rid of them. And that is the problem. Now don't wait for American or European or English to come and help you. You have to help yourself. And that is the only way you can do it. Thank you and bye.
Thank you very much. Now, moderators, if you have anything to add as a comment, you can speak. If not, we will go to...
Yes, I have something to add, just briefly. Many just, without considering the situation in Iran, without considering the power the Ayatollahs have, just come up and, they just say their opinion. People themselves should free the country. I will tell you it's not possible, because I've been in the streets of Tehran in many protests. I've seen it. People, they don't, people go to the streets with bare hands. They receive bullets. They receive, they are beaten, they are getting killed, they will be massacred. Even we have seen it in Syria. Like in Syria, 500,000 people got killed. Even the army joined people. But Assad is still there. After 12 years, he is still there. So, it's not just saying, oh, okay, people should come and overthrow the Ayatollahs. It's not possible. There are many, many, many things that we should consider, like, for example, what Trump administration did to the Ayatollahs, it just brought them to their knees with the maximum pressure policy. It was a necessity to overthrow the mullahs. People should come to the streets. We should have a organized we should have an organized opposition. We also should, we haven't seen this yet. Part of the government should separate from the government and joins the opposition. It didn't happen. It happened in Syria. The army joined, and there are many other factors we should consider. It's not like a black and white thing. You say, okay, because people are not coming to this street, the Ayatollahs cannot be overthrown. Actually, people came to the streets. In 2 days' time, 1,500 people got killed. In which country the government is so ruthless to kill 1,500 people in just 2 days? So people paid the price, but it's also up to the West to support people to, because, one more thing I should add, some people, because of their patriotism or I don't know, whatever they do, they say we don't want foreign military in our country. But let me tell you something. Our country has been invaded, for the past 4 decades. These people, the Ayatollahs, this is a cleric regime. They are not Iranian. They have invaded our country from inside. My country is not free, and that's what we want. We don't care if we receive help from the outside of Iran. And without that, I believe it's not possible to overthrow the Ayatollahs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mamadou. Before we go to Gongashte, I want to welcome to Arina Zuckerman, Walt Martin, Rachel Brooks, and also Gaza Sharma among us, whose father is now present in Iran. I requested several times, Irina Zuckerman, I will send you the microphone. I don't know what's the problem. Perhaps we have technically some problems. You can't accept the microphone. Okay. Then,
may I give a hint to her? If you want to accept it and you cannot, you have to leave the space, force a stop or kill the application once, then join again. You will be able to join as a speaker. That's a bug in a space.
Okay, yeah. If you can leave and rejoin us, the problem may be resolved. Okay, now Gongash, the mic is yours. You can talk on the topic about 5 minutes.
Hello, everybody, and thank you. As is customary, it seems everybody introduces themselves. My name is Amir, and I'm an Iranian. I do not live in Iran. I'm a homosexual, and I had to run away from the Islamic Republic. Otherwise, I would have been hanged. And this is shocking for many people. They do not understand it because they have not lived in a religious regime. But I don't want to talk about that. This is one of the subjects that I wanted to talk about, homosexuality and Islamic Republic, because I have many friends right now in Turkey, after 5 or 6 years, 7 years of being there, not being able to work, not having any kind of health insurance recently. There is absolutely zero response from the government of Turkey and from UNHCR and from United Nations on this matter. This is something that I wanted to talk about because look at the international organizations like United Nations, like WHO. These organizations are not doing what they were supposed to be doing when they were established. United Nations right now chooses the Islamic Republic as a member of the Commission of Women's Rights. How crazy is that? Women cannot be elected as presidents in Iran. Women cannot have their own things that they want. Women do not have the right to divorce because my mom divorced and it was a hell. And I was the child of the divorce. So I know these things. This is not the first time that the Western countries are turning a blind eye when a nation rises and asks them to help them. Throughout the history, we've seen that. But the thing is, we are not waiting for them anymore. I believe Iranians have come to this understanding that although having some help from the Western governments, the governments that actually say they value human rights, but in action, we don't see that, we are not counting on them. We are going forward, and whoever comes with the Iranian nation in the brighter future of Iran will be with us. But we will not forget this. We will not forget that more than 4,000 people were killed in 2019, not 1,500 people. Reuters said 1,500. The statistics just came out a few days ago that in November 2019, when the protest happened, right now we know that the statistics of death is more than 4,000 plus from last year or from 2020. So these numbers that the protesters were killed, this is a much higher number. But we see Biden administration lowering this number to 300 something. So Westerners, if you don't want to help us, do not give deals to the Islamic Republic. Right now, they are deciding for the future of a nation with a government that the majority of the nation doesn't want. We will not forget that. Something that I wanted to talk about, as Sarah did actually, a very, very good point that I've been doing this in the past few days myself as well, is that asking our Arab brothers and sisters and friends to, because I've seen them protest against Islamic Republic in Iraq, in Syria, we need to unite together. I hope we can do that because look, every day that Islamic Republic is in power, it's going to get worse. Nothing will be better. No matter who comes as a president, no matter who comes as a supreme leader, Islamic Republic will never get better because the ideology, because the way the Islamic Republic thinks is different from all the world, is different from all the Western democratized world. They do not understand democracy. They do not understand the language of international negotiations. They acted, but later on, behind your back, they would do many things, as we've seen they have done. So we need a regional unification or being united in the region with Iraqi people, with Syrian, with Yemeni people, and with Iranians, because all of us are being tortured daily by the politics of Islamic Republic and its militias in the region. Later on, if I have more time, I would like to listen to other people speak, especially if we have people from Arab countries.
Yeah, thank you, Bongashta. Yeah, we have a person, an Arab person, Eva, I think, and she's a speaker. But before that, please, I request all of you to share this space in order to more people join us and participate in the topic. Now, and also, Bongashta, I want to emphasize on your talk about the condition of refugees in Turkey, because I am one of them, and the condition is very terrible. I put emphasis on your talk. That's very good, important. And also the Islamic Republic is behind this condition because, as you know, the UNHCR, unfortunately, now has no responsibility towards the refugees, and also involved in some affairs, taking part in Turkish government's affairs, unfortunately. And I want to witness this condition because I am now living here as a refugee. Thank you very much for that good talk. Okay, Mrs. Eva, now you can talk about 5 minutes on the topic. Just first, please introduce yourself to the audience, and then mic is yours.
Good evening. My name is Eva. I'm from Iraq. I have some points. Firstly, I'm happy to talk to the Iranian people for the first time in my life. My point is, of course, we don't hate the Iranian people or the anti-Mullahs regimes. And I was a big supporter for the last demonstration. Okay.
Unfortunately, we missed Eva on the stage. Okay, I will see. Sorry. I see Mrs. Irina Zuckerman among the audience, among the speakers on the stage. Welcome, and you can.
I'm sorry. Yes. I just
yes,
have a problem with the electricity. Okay.
Okay,
My
continue, please.
okay. My other point is let's don't involve the regions in our conversation. There are most important topics we have to discuss. Firstly, I have some questions. How much if we want if we need to determine how much the percentage of the anti-Iranian regime compared to the supporter. The second important question, if we need to support the Iranian people or anti-regime people, okay? What is their plan for the future? Are there any the near or close protests? Um, we, I don't know if you hear me.
Yes, yes, we hear you.
I have some problems. Okay. We have to know what's your plan for the future or for the near or for
May I respond to that?
Yes, Sarah, but before that, just let us to give mic to Mrs. Irina Zuckerman, and then you can continue on the question of Eva, okay?
Sure, sure.
Okay, Mrs. Irina, now mic is yours. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor, and thank you for inviting me to be here. To address a couple of points, the biggest issue, of course, is the divisions within even the dissident and opposition communities abroad. And the problem is also, it's unclear how to overcome these divisions, given that each divided space is then exploited by the regime and is used to advocate to the rest of the West that overthrowing the regime, whether internally or in any other way, is impossible because the Iranians are too divided among themselves. They will never agree on any common agenda and will prefer to attack each other rather than address the space. I actually believe that it's important to focus efforts exclusively on the very least identifying common voices that are not going to be double dealing and that are going to want to present a common message. Even if the specifics of any plans are not unified, it's also important to show the dissidents abroad as not being separate from their counterparts in Iran, because two major movements in the United States and European countries, a lot of them seem to have very little connections to Iran itself. They are only representative of the dissident communities abroad and therefore have very little credibility when it comes to anything other than tactical representation, but not any strategic plan. To that effect, however, what makes any sort of unity even more difficult is lack of platforms to show to Americans, to Westerners, Europeans, that there is a genuine interest in regime change of some sort. And regime change has to be presented as something more than just overthrow of the Ayatollahs, because the regime itself is deeply entrenched, it's institutionalized, and it's a huge bureaucracy that has created dependency even among people who hate it. So in order to explain what the regime change actually means, it does mean a buy-in into deinstitutionalizing the entrenched regime elements and giving an opportunity to those who were not involved in human rights abuses and certain types of corruptions, and an opportunity to be part of a new system that will not be punitive to them and will not create further divisions on that level. That sort of vision has never been articulated by anyone. That issue of institutionalized entrenchment and a platform, a pathway, even if it's a long-term one, to overcoming this bureaucratic potential for bureaucratic collapse and creation of a new system, that is something that needs to be discussed. How to transition, what is going to be the procedure of actually moving out from the regime to whatever other kind of system. This is with the collapse of the Soviet Union, for instance, some of the former regime elements, they were never moved away from Russia's governance, and we see that many of these people have come back to create a kleptocracy that's extremely corrupt and that has that cannot be turned into a normal democratic republican system. We don't want the same happening in Iran. So that's one issue to think about. The second one is the issue of platforms that are in the United States in particular, but also in Europe, are predominantly controlled by regime lobbies with extremely successful financing. Two things can be done about that. One is creating alternative platforms and just not letting these regime elements grab the conversation. It's extremely difficult, and requires planning, organizing, and some level of unity. But there needs to be a commitment to speaking out more than sniping at each other for not being sufficient or perfect. To that effect, I would love to offer the opportunity of anyone here who would like to write, speak, or present anyone to do so through Republic Underground. You're very welcome to present information as long as it's logical, coherent, and it's not, regime style fake news. We will be very happy to consider it. Rachel Brooks here, who is present among the audience, she will be glad to quote you, to give you an opportunity to submit op-eds or to connect with me for live interviews on specific topics and conversations on Zoom that can be shared with wider audience. The other issue is actually creating organized lobbies that are one of the speakers referenced earlier that I'd like to very briefly address, and I can answer questions afterwards. I don't want to take too much time, but the issue is, of course, with funding and financing. There are wealthy, successful diaspora members, but there is a great deal of distrust in, for instance, American Iranian diaspora communities, and they're reluctant to fund organized political or social efforts to that effect. The pro-regime elements have no such problems. They've entrenched themselves in various institutions, private companies, universities, governments, and they run candidates with financing, and they've partnered with other Islamist organizations that are not necessarily Iranian. So creating a broader network that is going to be willing to fund these efforts and making sure that these spaces are clean from regime influence, that's the pathway to go, and not solely focus exclusively on the Iranian diaspora itself, but actually creating networks with other people, and again, making sure that it's a unified goal focused on getting rid of the Ayatollah, RGC, and their terrorist proxies, rather than combating each other over, future system of governance. So you have to start somewhere. It's going to be a very long process. We should not expect miracles, but that's the start. Actually creating partnerships with other people will make it easier to focus on the goal and not on internal divisions. That's my thought for the moment.
Thank you very much, Irina. Commander, I saw your raising hand. Okay, but just let everyone on the stage. This is the role of this space. Let everyone on the stage to speak one time, and then we will back to other speakers who have need extra time. Okay. Now, Sarah, you can add your comment, and then we will go to Irina's. To Gaza Sharma. Sarah, you can add your comment now.
Thank you, Sirwan. Eva, I would like to respond to your two questions. The first question you ask is that how many percentage of Iranians supporting the regime and how many they're refusing and they want it to go out. Well, I have to say that the amount of propaganda of the regime is so huge and so vast that this is the most problem, the most the biggest actually problem that we have. We have to first break this propaganda that the Iranian people do not support this regime. I am here to give you the answer based on the survey. Actually, the survey that launched inside the country by the regime itself says that 57% of the people they don't want to participate in the election. They don't trust the regime itself. But the other surveys which are running outside of Iran is saying is that even higher percentage that people claim that this regime is completely illegitimate. So this is the first answer basically to your question, that the majority of people in Iran are basically opposing this regime and they don't want this regime. The second question is you ask that what is the plan? That's actually the question that I frequently receive. That many people, like foreigners, ask me that. Okay, what is your plan? The plan is overthrowing this regime and replace it with a democratic, secular regime or the government, basically. That's the plan. Okay, in order to get to that point, we have to, like I said, we have to get united because this regime is so strong, so brutal that whenever we come out to the street, they only shoot us to death. They only imprison, they only torture. That's it. So for this kind of regime, what we need a bigger crowd. Like I said, we need other countries like Iraq, we need Lebanon, we need Syria to come join us, that we can go out as a massive protest, for example, in one day. In this way, basically, they cannot oppress all of the people, millions of people in different countries all at once. That's what I wanted to basically give you the idea, and you pass over this idea to your people. You can discuss, and we are here. We are weekly running these spaces. You can come to us and talk about this. This is a very important issue. We need you. You need us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. We have Gaza Sharma among us, an Iranian citizen whose father is now detained in Iran, unfortunately, and are under the threat of execution. She can witness the very terrible condition of Iran, and if has something about his father to say to the audience. And after Ghazale, we will come back to Ardashir, the moderator, to add his comment. Ghazale, now mic is yours. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Sirvanjan. First off, I'm not a dissident myself. I'm glad to be in this space and surrounded by a lot of dissidents. I'm a daughter of a dissident, that I would say. I believe the dissident is a very honorable title that it has to be earned by dedicating a large part of your life to human rights, to freedom movements. And I consider my dad to be such a person. And I want to speak about him. He has been fighting for human rights, and he was kidnapped by the Islamic regime on his layover in Dubai in August 2020. And it's now almost 10 months that he's been kept somewhere in Iran in solitary confinement. And all of his rights have been stripped away. He does not have any rights over there. And right now, I am his voice. And I also wanted to quickly talk about, some of the speakers have talked about the foreign governments and what they are doing in supporting Iranians and Iranian dissidents. And I can see that firsthand right now, and how they're supporting my dad and my family and what they're doing right now. But I want to say it should not be news to anyone that big powers in this world are not really focused on issues like human rights and freedom of speech and all of those things that are important to us. They usually put their time and effort into what benefits them and what is beneficial to the country, and maybe monetary benefits. And we as the people of that country, or we as the people of the world, it is our duty to bring their attention to issues that are important to us, to demand that they prioritize these values. It is small people like me and you who can bring these concerns up to the congressman or to the people in Bundestag, or to contact human rights groups and ask them to use the power that we gave them to work for us, because that is their job. And all of those representatives can take action, and they have positive roles when they do something, but only when we demand it. For example, right now, you can see when the dissident in Belarus was pretty much kidnapped in his flight, there was a huge outrage from the international community, and I was very, very happy to see that people were so outraged, and it was all over the news, and everybody was tweeting about it. And at the same time, I was wondering why 10 months ago, when the same thing happened to an Iranian dissident, which is my dad, he was kidnapped, there was not such an outrage. Or when 1 year ago, Ruhollah Azam was kidnapped, there was not such an outrage, at least not like it is right now. And there are more people that have been kidnapped in the Middle East, and the Iranian people and Iranian dissidents. And I can see a difference there. I don't see, for example, government slapping on sanctions on the Islamic regime right now. I saw this morning that Washington is slapping on new sanctions for Belarus, and it's great to see that. But I think it is a result of the outrage of the people that we have. And right now, this seems to be of great importance to the world politics, be it because of international business or economic reasons or the world powers fighting each other. I don't know why there is a difference, but I can see a great inequality in the reaction of the people. And I can feel this inequality in my heart and in my bones, and it hurts to say the least. The Islamic Republic is repressing its own citizens for years. We've all seen that. They're doing it on a daily basis. And maybe we have become numb to these news. Maybe we are not shocked anymore. And when we are not shocked anymore, they will not stop. And they will continue. What they have started now is not just crack down on their own people. They're cracking down on free speech and public dissidents outside of their borders. And using outrageous maneuvers to capture them and to silence them or to kill them. And authorities of other regimes do the same thing. We have to speak up. We have to be outraged. We have to demand that our governments hold these regimes accountable. And the most important thing that I want to add to the subject of dissidents is that if you truly consider yourself a dissident, it is your duty to support and stand strong behind other dissidents, even if we disagree. Right now, we have speakers here that disagree on how to free the country. That is okay. Each person, each group, each individual can have their own state of mind and their own way to doing it. Just go forward. Don't censor the movements. Don't censor the opposition. Let the enemy do that. I believe if you're a true believer in human rights, we all have the same enemy. We all need to go forward together, and let us all help each other and not grow apart. And thank you to groups like this, which I'm part of right now, that are standing behind me and that are standing behind my dad and that are standing behind our dissidents. And I hope that will continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghazale.
May I add something?
Yes, of course, but let me to speak and then I will come back to you. We are very sorry that we hear so sorrowful news about your father. We wish he will be freed soon, and we wish we will receive some good news from him. And it's our responsibility, all of us, to do everything that we can to put pressure on the West, on the human rights organizations. For this matter is very serious and dangerous. Okay, so just pray for him and wish that we will receive some good news soon. Yes, Mamadou, you can talk, and then we come back to Ardashir, and then Pistachio to talk about the topic. Mamadou, you please.
Continuing what Ghazal said about the reaction people give. For example, she talked about Ruhollah Azam, how he was kidnapped. Twitter, especially in the I believe Iranians are among those few countries who were used to use Twitter very effectively, because I'm also a social media analyzer. I've been involved in many Twitter storms against the regime. For example, there were 5,000 people. They could turn the hashtag, around the world. There were like 10,000 people, they participate in Twitter storm. This is, for example, for US is like 100,000, 50, 1,000 at least, people participate to turn the hashtag. But in Iran, a lot of people, because of their passion to be voice of a, prisoner or someone, who is going to be executed, they used to turn hashtags a lot, What government did, what the intelligence agencies of the regime did, they started, targeting those people who were really effective at trending hashtags, in the Persian Twitter. For example, for Navid Afkari, when they wanted to execute him, we did turn the hashtag with over 1 million tweets, and everybody knew about it. They couldn't, execute him in silence. For Ruhollah Azam, unfortunately, it didn't happen because, they did started targeting dissidents, they ran smear campaigns against them. And right now, still they do that. And unfortunately, for the past 6 months, it has not been possible to do so. But Ghazal, I want to tell you something. We can help you with that. We can organize a Twitter storm. So everyone, we bring your father into media's attention, using a Twitter storm. I don't know if you are familiar with that. or no. But there are plenty of people here, even from Iraq or Saudi Arabia or other places. We could also use their help to do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mamadou. Because we have a limit time, just please let me to give the mic to Ardeshir and then Pistachio. Ardeshir, I think you have something to add, a comment. Just go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Sivan. I would like to add my comment on the topic that we have tonight. Then I would like to talk with a broader point of view and in more general terms, and share with you the reasons that I, as an Iranian, am against the Islamic Republic in Iran. The tragedy of what goes on in Iran right now is how the main challenges of a big chunk of its population and what their preoccupations is reduced from that of progression, development, excelling in sciences, culture and arts, or basically their life goals, to just fighting to make ends meet and to put food on the table. And in such societies, and as long as these are the necessities that the population has to fight for, there aren't going to be betterment or flourishment unless there's a fundamental change, a change which would allow people to be freed from these shackles and grow and become a better version of themselves, or at least have a chance of trying. Well, something that they do not possess right now. And that very change in Iran is overthrowing this occupying regime, which has nothing in common with its people and its ideals, and is not there to better the lives of the people, but to pillage the land and have it in service of their own twisted ideology. Well, this philosophy could be applied to many countries. But I would like to remind you that Iran shares 1% of the global population, and but then has 7% of its mineral resources. If we add including the natural gas and oil reserves, and that alone should be, ideally, a recipe for success. But then, unfortunately, that has been a recipe for disaster, which it has many reasons and contributing factors, which I don't think that directly applies to our topic tonight, or that we have the time for it. Another reason that aches the heart of any Iranian or those who are aware of its ancient history is the current state of the country with such historical, cultural, and geopolitical significance, being the center of culture and civilization as long as history remembers, and to be reduced to the state that we see today. Well, another thing that I would like to add, today there are roughly 10 million Iranians outside of Iran. A large percentage of them are academics, contributing to the societies that they're in, and all this brain power could have been used in their own country, Iran, if not for all the brain drain caused by this regime in the past decades. I am against the Islamic Republic in Iran for occupying my beloved country, plundering it, wasting and ruining lives of generations, and constantly undermining its ancient identity, history, and culture, and destroying its ecosystems, and making lives of tens of millions of Iranians a living hell. We have border provinces in Iran that they still don't have access to clean water, and it's just heartbreaking for any Iranian, I would say. In the end, I would like to say that we will never stop fighting for Iran and our freedom, and we are united in overthrowing this terrorist regime and to reclaim our land and our rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ardeshir. I want to give mic to Pistachio, but before that, among the audience, if everyone want to come to stage and speak about the topic, just please raise your hands and I will make you a speaker. Yes, after Pistachio, I will give mic to Kamandir and Adrian, also Gongashta, if they had any comments on the topic to add. Now, Pistachio, mic is yours. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I wanted to speak to Awa because first time I see somebody Arabic speaking, and I speak Arabic fluently. And I've been going to Arabic spaces, Iraqi spaces, and for them, they have imposed to them that Iranians all love this government and enjoy the luxury they are having and the greatness of our regime. But in reality, I can tell you 96% of Iranians want these regimes to collapse and be gone. Even the people in their system that are paid, they are only there because they are getting hefty money. And and they have no choice to bring bread and food for their families, so they are stuck there. But if their mindset, they are all depressed. They are not happy. They're not happy. Our passport is the lowest passport in the world. We can't say we are proud of our country. We don't have tourism. We live in a land that's full of oil, but people have no water, no school, no proper way of living. We can't. We are sanctioned, of course, but they go around the sanctions. They have casinos online. They have Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Like the government people do everything behind all these international laws and system and break rules. So I can say 96% don't want. The 4% are their families and the corrupt lobbies that are all across the world. Example, I can say you Human Rights Watch, Ken Roth, I'm sure he's been lobbied, and I found a document that he says he does not care about Iranians as long as the money is coming. So his salary is over $1 million. Where is it coming from if you work for a human rights organization? And what else? I just need a sip of water. I'll continue in a minute. I wanted to talk to Eva with the Arabic girl, but she's gone. Irina, you also asked, we are groups of broken down. We are broken down because the government is working on it. 42 years. They've been jailing us, threatening. When we were kids in school, they tell you, if your cousin doesn't pray, tell us. If your uncle does that, tell us. So they broke us into groups. So they made us hate each other, even though our goal is one. We all want this regime to collapse. Sorry, I'll mute because I need water. I'll be back.
Pistachio, I want to ask you a clear question. You said that 90% of the people inside Iran want this regime to be collapsed. Okay, so what is the responsibility of Iranian dissidents in reversing the lobbyist activities in West countries, for example, America, Canada, and European countries? What should we do to reverse their activities? I mean, lobbies. In 2 minutes, please.
Of course, we don't have amount of money and endorsement that Democrats get from NIA, Crisis Group, Quincy Institute, MENA, and Brookings, and few of these organizations that are literally smuggling Iran's millions and millions of money out to endorse all these people, to take their side, to say, oh, let the regime, this regime is strong, let them last. But okay, let's have a JCPOA deal with them.
By means we have, what can we do?
What can I do as an individual? Me sitting at my home, I have the power of social media. All these leaders, human rights activists, all these lovely journalists like Irina here, we can, under their tweet, we can give our concerns. And when we write to her, when we tell them, they hear me, you, and many of us who have no voices. We don't have money to pay New York Times $800,000 for 2 lines advertising. So therefore, our social media is our platform that we can make our voices be heard. So in order to do that, you just need to spend half an hour in your day, or, well, I've been unemployed recently due to COVID, so I've been online all the time trying to defend some country that I have not visited since childhood because we left and there was no way back. So I request everybody here to just search anything that says Iran, JCPOA, go right underneath it. Anybody who defends Iran, someone like Irina, like their tweets, share it, retweet it. All these small things count.
Okay, thank you very much, Pistachio.
I also wanted to say that the day that the United Nations Women's, they made Iran as, what was it? They gave them a chair as a commissioner of human rights. I spent the whole day retweeting to them, how dare you do that? And I looked for pictures of all these women abused in Iran all these 42 years, and you give them legitimacy. And right now, for all the Vienna meeting members, I found their Twitter accounts, and I write under the tweets, how dare you want to tweet with a country that's literally ISIS organization. They're ISIS. They're controlling us inside, silencing us. They're lying outside. Like Jawad Zarif says, he has doctrine in human rights, and inside Iran, it's corrupt, incorrupt. People are jailed, abused. There's mobile phones, everything controlled. Like there's no freedom inside. What you see outside is not what's going on inside. Yes, there is 1% that are enjoying this corruption, and they're making money and they're enjoying it, and they want this to continue, but the rest of us are suffering. And the silence of these countries' leaders, NGOs is going to hurt us, and in the long term will hurt them, because just you see them, they're spreading their agenda around the world. Check all these countries, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, anywhere Islamic Republic steps in, like Khamenei has 15 accounts, 15 languages, spreading his agenda of Western hate, non-Muslim Shiite sect hate, and spreading his hatred around the world. Is this helping us? No, it's not going to help your next generation as well if you don't step in to stop this regime. This regime has to be gone.
Okay, thank you very much, Pistachio. I saw Kamangira Gongashta raise your hands. Okay, I will give you the mic. But before that, I want the audience, if everyone want to speak, just please let me know by raising your hands and I will make you the speaker. Okay, Mr. Kamangira, you have 3 minutes to add your comment, and then Gongash, the mic is yours after Kamangira.
Thanks to you, Servan, and everybody who spoke. I agree with nearly everything that everybody has said. Just a couple of points. I think to summarize what Sarah has said, what Mamadou has said, what Adishi said, everybody, Iran Ahiru specifically is a great person to have around, because what it is, though, what we should never underestimate is that this regime that we're fighting against is no longer the regime that came to power 42 years ago. The propaganda machine has matured. They've learned to fight with us in so many different ways. They now have such a strong lobby. So many people pointed to this issue, and it is so important. What this has done, though, is exactly what we should try and reverse. We got to ready minds. We got to ready minds and tell people in the Middle East that the majority of your sufferings is due to the fact that the mullahs are in power in Iran now, with all those resources, the amount of damage that they're doing, the amount of money that goes into these lobby houses and news organizations. And the best thing we can do, as Sarah said, is to try and build bridges with other people in other countries and organize movements together to make people aware of this issue. This regime, what you see on the face of it, is not real. It isn't. Just look underneath, just past this curtain. You see so many horrible things. We have so many stories to tell you that are both accurate and in many ways are much worse than many of the stuff that become headlines to the world. And I think really the world, they deserve to at least hear it, and the judgment be with them. We don't even want to tell them that, come and help us. I don't think it's the help that we need. I think is the post support around is what we want. We don't want any country to come and try and bomb our towns to help us out. No, thank you. I don't think that was ever requested anywhere. But what we needed, though, is support to at least try and fight the lobby machine that's going on. I think that would become the most important thing. Just organizing things with people in other countries like Iraq and Lebanon and places like that, making them aware that we in Iran aren't happy. We were never happy. Happy is not a word that exists in our dictionary. It's been worse than the worst. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for giving me this time, Sherivan. I'll join the listeners.
Thank you, Kamangir. Thank you very much. Gongash, now you can add your comment in 3 minutes. And then we will go to Tambaki if I pronounced the noun correctly. Gongash, you in 3 minutes can add your comment, please.
Thank you. What the world needs to understand, the nations of the world and the governments, because the nations will be able to ask their governments, is that if Islamic Republic goes, the world will be a better place. We are not doing this only for ourselves as Iranians. We're doing this for the world. We're doing this for our region. We're doing this for even Europe and United States. In 43 years, Islamic Republic has made a lot of terrors in the European United. And we know about the drug smuggling of IRGC and Hezbollah together all around the world, from Venezuela all the way to the East Europe. So this is not us Iranians doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for everybody in the world. And if the world understands that, they will help us, because at the end of the day, we only can ask ourselves this question, each of us. Do I really support human rights in my conscience, or am I just talking about human rights? Because human rights is a worldwide right. It's not for one nation or two nations. And I have a warning for all of us, including myself. Guys, we are doing a great thing. This is a great movement. All the movements that I see, against the Islamic Republic have been great, especially recently, since we're not only relying on so-called opposition leaders and we are doing things ourselves. But please remember, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have a lot of time because Islamic Republic has signed a 25-year contract with China. They are importing a lot of cameras, a lot of controlling devices. They are helping the Islamic Republic going through the intranet and cutting away the Iranians from the World Wide Web. So I'm just saying that we need to pick it up. We need to pick the pace up. We cannot stop here. We have to help people. Everybody have to help us. This is a worldwide thing. This is not only about Iran and Iranians. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Among the audience, I saw Mr. Walton Martin and Mrs. Rachel Brooks. If you want to talk on the topic, just please raise your hands in order to let me know that you want to speak. Okay.
May I add something, Mr. Mansouri?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, I've pinned the tweet. This is the official account for our spaces. It is called No to IR Resonance. You could follow it, and we appreciate it if you follow it because it should at least gain 600 followers in order for the space feature to open up in this account. So from that onward, we could organize those the spaces on that account. And also, we have uploaded 4 sessions to our YouTube channel. It's in the bio of the account, so you could look it up there. And this session is also recorded and will be shared on our channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Irina Zuckerman, I want you if you want to add something on the speaker's discussion about the Iranian dissidents and the conditions you heard. If you want to add something, now Mike is yours.
Thank you so much again. Just to respond really quickly to everyone else, I'm painfully aware of the regime's tactics in trying to drive apart any opposition to them, including through mouthpieces, including through divisions, infiltrations, and so forth. And I do hope that actually focusing on the stories that need to be heard and that do not get even an ounce of the attention of some of the headlines, that can actually help build that common ground. I think sharing the stories, sharing common humanity, bringing people together, not to argue about politics or claims or the way forward, but to discuss their common opposition to this evil that is pervading all of the Middle East and now also the West. I think that's a much better way to go. I think we sometimes need to depoliticize discussion and start building common ground first before any decision making and policy can be formulated effectively. And I think for that we do have a growing space. I don't think we need the New York Times anymore to start a discussion. I think a lot of the journalism has been democratized by social media and by the ability to open accounts and grow audiences based on good content and good quality writing. We are fortunate enough to have that space. We already have social media audience. We can bring these matters to light by sharing stories and sending them directly to our contacts in the West, whether politicians, whether heads of or NGOs, organizations, think tanks, whatever. And we can break through the noise, because up until this point, the power of the propaganda machinery was based on monopoly of the space and monopoly of the consciousness of the listeners. But if the listeners start getting alternative viewpoints from elsewhere and questions are raised about who they are and why they have more legitimacy than other people, once you start saying that NIAC, the regime lobby in the US, does not speak for me, why are they claiming to represent all Iranian Americans, for instance, when I have my own story, my own pathway, and I don't agree with their agenda? That becomes a very powerful and disruptive tool. And eventually, mainstream media will have no choice. They will have no choice. And frankly, to make yourself heard, you can create something else that is just as mainstream, because the mainstream media now represents particular interests and not necessarily even all Americans. They represent increasingly niche groups, which is important to understand. They're losing audiences and focusing increasingly on partisan issues. And I believe that the power lies in unifying the audiences, just as it's important to unify the speakers, meaning bring together Americans and Europeans and others who are concerned about human rights, about security, about peace, about prosperity of the region, and having real partners with whom you can have legitimate trade and not corrupt regimes where it costs more to do business and then in the long term than whatever you get out of it. I think bringing them together on that common ground is just as important as bringing together the actual diaspora opposition and people who speak with Iranian voices.
Thank you very much, Irina. I want to welcome Mr. Walton Martin. Mr. Walton, as I know, you will be participating with Iranian dissidents directly, especially on refugees from 2009. And this is a very good point that we have you here because you are more familiar with our problems and also Iranian peoples inside Iran. Thank you very much. Now, mic is yours, Mr. Walton. You can add your comment on the topic.
Good afternoon, everyone, and morning and evening. Sarah, this message is for Eva. I would like you to give her our heartfelt thanks for standing up and offering to protest in Iraq. However, as I've watched thousands of Iranian protesters be murdered on the streets, they say 500 in Iraq, but I imagine it's close to 4,000 there. The citizens of Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, and Bahrain. Everyone forgets Bahrain. And there would have been no Arab Spring without the 2009 uprising in Iran. And I have to make that point. The Arab Spring was an afterthought of the uprising in Iran. Anyway, and then Ardashir brought up a point that there's no running water in many areas of Iran. A point that goes with that is, there was an earthquake in actually Awaz and Kermanshah. Awaz more recent, but Kermanshah 2.5 years ago, when people were still living in tents there, the regime stole the aid. The only aid that was allowed in, even for rescue work, was from Iraq, which I imagine was Sadr and the PMU, and some Kurdish aid got through. But international rescue from Europe, Israel, and the United States was rejected by the regime. So it's almost impossible for us to help people if the regime's not going to let people in, especially aid workers. On the refugee matter, Serwan, I have some correspondence into the State Department, population, refugees, and migration, and I'm awaiting an answer for them. So just hold tight. I'm doing what I can. Many people in the U.S. are still working from home. They're not working in their offices due to this COVID. I expect that'll be over shortly, at least by July. But as soon as I have an answer, I'll get it to you. But really, Sarah, please tell Eva and her other friend from Iraq that anyone that's really interested in human rights and interested in helping Iran is not interested in seeing more adolescent teens and young men and young women murdered by these regimes. You can't protest in Iraq. The PMU will cut you down in a minute. They've already tried it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walton Martin, for your comments. Sarah, I think you had something to add. If you have something, now mic is yours. You can go ahead.
Yes, I would like to make a remark here. Thank you, Walt. My goal is basically to make this kind of like a movement. Obviously, it's going to be hard because we are having first of all the propaganda issue, and second the trust issue, and like a hate from each other. Like because frequently I'm hearing from like Syrians or Lebanese or even Iraqis that we hate Iranians. We hate Iranians. Okay, that's we can fix it. We can fix it with some like conversations and build trust. So I think that this is somehow it's like a last a solution that it came to my mind, because apparently Biden doesn't want to see, Europe doesn't want to see, they just want to ignore. Even if you say that, okay, Iran is in a really dangerous situation in terms of water shortage, in terms of environment, and in terms of mental health, these factors are really important. It's even more important than the regime itself, I believe, because imagine what if these environment issues and water shortage get more serious, and many millions of Iranians want to either flee the country or immigrate. So would the West willing to take all of these people? That is my question, actually. But so far, the West is ignoring us. Ignore human rights, ignore our demands, ignores all the blood that's shed so far. So that is my question. What they want to do that?
Okay.
I'm sure, believe it or not, the U.S. could accept 70 million people and be fine as far as area and landmass. More than half the country here is basically unpopulated. But that'll never happen. The change needs to happen inside Iran. And one of the better points brought up, and I will confirm this myself because I've worked with both Rachel Brooks and Irana Zuckerman. Please write to them. If you have friends in Iran and they have a secure internet where they won't get caught, send the letters out. You can also send them to me. The host of this room have my email, or you have theirs. You can send the letters to them and they will forward them to me. Sarah, Mamadou, and Sirwan. And, you know, we have trusted secure communications, and anything you want to get out, you send it out and we'll get it up there as soon as possible. We do have to confirm some things, but we're not going to ask for anybody's name inside Iran or their location. We just need the information. And if more Iranians wrote these letters, we could walk into Congress and present 100 letters to Congress or 1,000 letters to Congress directly from Iranians, rather than from the Iranian dissidents on the outside, which really don't hold as much weight. They listen some, but they'll listen more to the people in Iran. And if one person in Iran knows 20 people, have all 20 write the letters, one person can send them in. But this is what we need to walk into Congress with. I don't want kids on the streets protesting, getting killed. This is the responsibility of the governments. It's the responsibility of the UK. It's the responsibility of Merkel, who wants to do 35% of the country's business with Iran. It's these people that need to stand up and stand with the Iranian people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walton Martin. Pistachio, I saw your hand was raised. If you have something to add, mic is yours, but just please consider the time because we have limited time.
If our voices doesn't count, we are outside. We have relatives who give us their voices, so our voices should count. We should not say, just I hear in Arabic spaces, oh, you're Iraqis who left the country, you have no voices. This is a propaganda that Islamic regime has started. And my reply to that is, Khomeini was outside of Iran 15 years. He had a voice because he had BBC that was supported by UK. So therefore, it's our voice, every individual one of us, our voices count.
Russell, please, Pistachio is speaking. I will give mic to you. Close your mic, please. Close your mic, Russell.
UEFA Champions League. The Chelsea is win and 1 goal. Man City is loser. 0 goal. Because the referee not penalty. Okay?
May I ask you, Mr. Mansouri, to mute him?
Sorry for the...
I think you are muting the whole space instead of removing him.
That's because I couldn't remove him first. I had to mute all the speakers in order to remove him. Okay, now we have now Ocean. Ocean, if you have something to add, Now you are on stage. If you want to speak, just please regard the time because we have limited time.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Martin, for the information you provided us with. I'm just going to ask the same questions, the same question that I did ask. I understand that the economical interest and also the political agenda for the Europeans and the United States oblige them to support their investment, because at the end of the day, we all know now, especially since a few years ago when the American government declassified what happened during the revolution 1979 in Iran, and how Jimmy Carter was fooled by Ayatollah Khomeini, and they ousted the Shah, and whatever happened there, we know that they couldn't do it without the help of European. And now obviously they are protecting their interests because of the political reasons, and obviously more about the economical reasons. The money that they get out of this mayhem in the region is enormous, and we all understand that all we need from them is to stop supporting them, and we need to achieve that. But we kind of know how to contact them. We have tried. Mr. Babai and others have helped us to find ways to contact them, and we have done, but we continuously being ignored. And the only thing they say, even though they know they are not right, is that the elections show us that the majority of Iranian people want this regime to be there, to stay in power. How can we convince them to change their way? I mean, Boris Johnson just a few months ago, I think it was a year and a half ago in the parliament, when he was asked, why are you supporting the Ayatollah Rouhani's? He said, he's much better than Qasem Soleimani. Do you want him to come to power? And he said it in a funny way, like it's a joke, while hundreds and thousands of people get killed regularly. It's like systematic. It just happens as we talk. People are being today. When Mr. Ahmadinejad was actually having an interview, and he was, as the ex-president, he was saying that the security forces in Iran are all the time illegally listening to ordinary people's conversations. So we know they are brutal. They have proved that they are brutal. They have not been a help to Iranian people. They have made the region much worse, the situation in the region. They are now a big threat to the Israel's existence. They're not helping Palestinians either by what they do. They have brought the conflict to Yemen because they have this agreement with Saudi Arabia, and all these rooted problems that has been there for years and years. The world knows, obviously, the Europeans know it much better than we do. But how can we convince them? We need a way. I know we need lobbies, a powerful lobbyist. But apart from that, the ordinary citizen like us, dissidents, we are, as Postaci said just a minute ago, that we are the voice of them. And if they are not in a position to contact your organization or others directly, even by an email, because they either don't have the means or don't have the skills to write a letter, or send, or even don't have time or are scared. So show us the way. I mean, a proper way that we can tell these governments what their representatives do.
Mr. Walt, you want to answer the question or add something?
Yeah, on. If you can write to another Iranian that can ask me what you have to say, believe me, I've been reading Iranian broken English since 2009, and I do get the point and I get the message. So feel free to write, even if your English is not that good. And also, you can write in Persian, and I can have it translated here if it's easier for you. But we will get the messages out. Irina will get the message out. I've known Irina for years. Rachel will get the message out.
Thank you. I know you do. I know you do. Thank you. That was just being hypothetical about the situation. I didn't mean
Well,
that they really
there's no
can't do it.
difference. There's no difference between Zarif, Rouhani, Khomeini.
We are about to finish the session.
Thank you.
If Ardashir had something, or Mamadou Sarah had something to add at the end of this session, you can speak about that. And if not, I'm going to finish this session. Ardashir, Mamadou or Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone to join us. That's all. I basically said what I wanted to say. Thank you, everyone.
Ardashir?
Same here. I want to thank everyone for participating and have a good night or afternoon wherever you are.
And Mamadou?
I also want to thank everyone for participating and once more mention the tweet that I have pinned to the space is for the official account, and please follow this account in order to receive the news from us directly without any misinterpretation from media. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all of the
And I
audience.
just have one more sentence that it is a very important time. It's their meeting.
Please 1 minute, please. Just
Okay, it's less than a minute. Like JCPOA Vienna meeting is going on, and Iran election is coming on, and it's June 18. We have 18 days to get our voices out. So be the voice of the voiceless. And I really, really sympathize with Giselle that her father was kidnapped in another country. We have to be the voices. Every minute counts, and we have to get our voices out. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. We were honored today to have you, all of you, in this space. We are going to hold another spaces on the next weeks, and you can also stay with us in these spaces. Thank you very much for everyone, and have a good time. Thank you very much. Bye.